Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chapter 2. This is all about ethics and professional practices. I want to go through this in two parts tonight. So we'll start this first part now, and then there'll be an additional video that really dives in the specific principles that are guiding our field as speech pathologists and audiologists. So we are following in your third edition. If you have the third edition of the book, we're going to be in pages 25 through 53. This section is chapters broken into three different sections. The first one is talking about ethical and professional practices, and then there are two appendices. Appendix 2A is all about the American Speech and Hearing Association Code of Ethics, and then Appendix 2B is related to the American Academy of Audiology, okay? And we'll go through each of those tonight. I want to talk a little bit about how this is broken up and what ethics means. And so let's kind of go back and think about your core values as a person. Your values are coming from what you were taught as a child. How did you know right from wrong? What did your parents instill in you as a guiding force to know what was right and wrong, what was a good decision and what was a bad decision, what was acceptable in your culture versus maybe a culture of someone else's. So for instance, I get several parents who come in and the male is the head of the household. He is the decision maker. And so if I have a family come in from a particular culture and I am familiar with that culture, I might expect that I need to address the head of the household, the male versus maybe the female, that he will be the decision maker, that the women that come to that evaluation are going to look for him for guidance as far as the way that they will proceed with the recommendations that I am providing. Another example might be I am from the north, from Michigan, and although we used ma'am and sir sometimes, not nearly as much as when I moved to the south to Tennessee. Yes, ma'am, and no, sir are very important in the southern culture. And I don't think there's a right or a wrong there. It's just a difference in values. And so as a part of that person's values, it may be really important for a child coming in to see you that not only are they learning to speak, but they're also using proper manners. And sometimes we have to remind families that we will get there with the manners, but right now we just need them to say yes or no. They need to be able to answer a question to help get their needs met, but still being respectful about those values. What's really important for that that culture or that particular person, you know, what you're taught as a child really does shape and influence you. And so that's the values part. And then we start talking into morals, and morals is using your values and then based on experiences that you've had. So when we're talking about morals, personal morals, we're talking about we have this value system that our family has instilled in us, and then we experience these different things that either solidify those values or change them slightly. So it's kind of like a moral compass. It's leading us into decision making, whether something we feel that something is a positive thing, a negative thing, a right or a wrong, that it's leading our decision making process as far as us as individuals. And then we get to ethics. And so with ethics, it really is just a set of moral principles. And it's actually defined as moral and or civil codes of conduct for a particular person, society, organization, a group of people, or a particular person themselves. So ethics is really how we conduct ourselves. Again, what is right or wrong? How do we decide which route we need to go based on a certain circumstance or a certain situation that arises. And so we have personal ethics. These are really formed by our upbringing, the values that our parents instill in us, those life experiences that we've had, education that we've received. All of that together helps determine our personal ethics. And it's going to really help guide how we're acting with friends and family, maybe how we choose those friends and family. It helps guide our sense of duty and obligation, right from wrong again. As far as professional ethics, now we're leading into kind of the bulk, the focus of this section or this lecture. And so with professional ethics, we're really looking at what is the principle that helps, the principle of conduct that's governing what we do as an individual or a group of individuals. It is publicly stating that we all, as speech pathologists or audiologists, have a common core value, collective obligation shared by a particular discipline. So all speech pathologists have a specific code of ethics. All audiologists have a specific code of ethics that they're following in helping to determine the right or wrong course of action given a particular situation. For the speech pathologist, we follow the American Speech and Hearing Code of Ethics. It's going to be listed under Appendix 2B. And then the audiologists really adhere to the American Academy of Audiology and their Code of Ethics. You will see here listed these are the common core values that we're going to use if we're confronted with ethical dilemmas. It's going to happen, I promise you. Unfortunately, things are going to come up and you're going to have to use these code of ethics, and that's why it's so important we know what they are. How do we know how we should respond if we don't know what the rules are or the code of ethics that we should be following? And so it's really important that we actually know what those code of ethics are, because you can't follow them if you're not sure what they are. I did list the website here for the ASHA Code of Conduct. I'm going to show you what this looks like. There are several different sections. We have the preamble. This is kind of the introduction or kind of laying out what's going to happen in the Code of Ethics. And then you'll see 4 principles here that we're going to go in depth on. We have a little bit of terminology, and then it's going actually into the principle as well as the rule of ethics you'll see here. And so I have this website listed in the PowerPoint. There's also information in the book as well in the appendix, right in the chapter. But I really want to make sure that you take the time to look at this. It's really important that you understand what our expectations are in our field. Okay, back to our PowerPoint. Sorry about that. So who should abide by these rules? Who do these rules or these code of ethics affect? They're definitely going to affect the certified professionals, the speech pathologists who have their clinical competence, the audiologists who are licensed audiologists, but then it also includes candidates in the process of earning those credentials, meaning graduate students, people who are observing, CFYs. So once, as an SLP, once you graduate and get your master's degree, you still have a 9-month period similar to a student teaching, but a 9-month period in which you're in your clinical fellowship here. You don't have your credentials yet. You are working underneath someone who does, who provides extra supervision to you, but you are still required to abide by these rules. Okay, and so as we're working through code of ethics and what they are, know that these are important that you follow even now as undergrad students. If you are going somewhere to observe, it's very important that you're abiding by these rules. We'll go through and I'll give you some examples of what would be, especially important for you to remember. But it will include both students all the way up to the certified professionals. Okay, and like I mentioned before with the preamble, this is going to talk about the ethical service delivery overall content. Let me scroll back up here. The overall content of the ASHA Code of Ethics. So you'll see that listed here on the website. And then they will go through the principles of ethics. Principle 1 and 2 are more service delivery to clients. We talked about before in the introduction that our goal is to serve our clients and do our best and show them that we truly care about the services we're providing. And this is the better part of that. Principle 3 is going to talk about how we interact with the public. And then principle 4 will talk about standards and responsibilities that we have towards our profession. And then lastly, it will go through the rule of ethics. And these are going to particularly lay out what is accepted and what is restricted as far as what you can do action-wise. And so as I scroll through here, I'll give you an example. Principle of ethics number 1. You'll see the principle here and then the specific rule of ethics, what you should and should not be doing in regards to that particular principle. Now I'm going to end the video here so we can actually go through each of these principles in the next video. So this isn't a super long one video lecture. So please make sure before you start the next lecture video, I want you to go either in your book or the website that I provided, and I want you to know what the principle is, what the specific rule of ethics are for each of those principles. Really look at the Code of Ethics so you have a better understanding of what's expected to you, both now as a student all the way through when you are a professional with your clinical competence. So please look through those appendix 2A and 2B, the website, and then go ahead and move on to the second video of this series.